It's my understanding that season 5 is a personal favourite of many of the fans. People love the hash driveway. For me personally, it's just fine. It's probably a good idea to return to the status quo after the madness of season 4. You know, the boys are broke, Jim's in charge and apparently sober. It doesn't let the boys win for too long, because as we all have to remember, the boys are the villains in this story, and we probably wouldn't like them as much if they didn't get the karmic justice that they probably deserve for some of their actions. And of course, we needed a little bit of calm after the storm that was Ricky's intense season last season. Yes, this is the hash driveway season, everybody. Let's give it up. People like the hash driveway. They like the fact that the boys are doing illegal shit right out in the open. It's literally at the front of the trailer for everybody to see. People keep fucking walking on it, and every time somebody does, it creates some tension and also some hilarity. And I can't understand why people like that. It's just not one of my personal favourites. That's not to say that I don't have anything to talk about this season, so let's get into it. Julian, this season, is still a little bit down on his luck. He's not recovered from being a complete loser last season, and so this season he is staying in a tent instead of a trailer because Randy and Lahey took his trailer. Through the course of the season, Ray, Ricky's dad, ends up getting arrested, and when they accrue the bail money to get him out, instead of doing that, Julian backstabs not just Ray but Ricky and uses the bail money to put a down payment on his old trailer. This is the worst move we've seen from Julian so far. It really is a low point for him in the series, and it's something that I would ask any Julian fan to defend. Obviously, Ricky finds out, and Julian has to eventually apologise and to explain himself. And the only reason that we get from him is that he didn't want to live in the tent anymore because he felt like a loser. It's this total selfishness from Julian again. His pride is worth more than Ricky's family. Ricky's old man is in jail, and sure, he might not actually be in a wheelchair, but he's still an older guy. He's still getting hassled by Cyrus and his boys in there. It's not a very nice situation. Julian's just left his friend's dad in the fucking lurch when Ricky trusted him to get him out of there, bro. I think it's proper abhorrent behaviour. He really disappointed me this season. I do not accept his apology. It's another one of those moments, well, it's not such a small moment. I wouldn't necessarily call it small, but it's small in the fucking wider spectrum of the series. It's one of those small moments that shows us a little bit of character, a little bit of weakness in Jules, but for once this weakness doesn't endear him to us. It's not a weakness that makes him more human and a bit less mysterious. It's a weakness that makes him really fucking unlikable. Kind of a turning point in the series, probably, because we've never seen Julian sink so low before, and this probably influences some of the writing decisions we see later down the line. Ricky's not on his best behaviour either this season. He accidentally burns down Ray's trailer and lets Bubbles take the blame for it. Not out of character for Ricky at all. Not like he blames Bubbles. Bubbles just takes the blame, and Ricky's excuse is that, you know, once somebody takes the blame, somebody else can't take it because somebody already took it. The logic is sound. However, when Bubbles eventually finds out about this, he is not happy. It causes a lot of division between the boys. It is awful behaviour from Ricky. However, I think we do hold him to a bit of a lower standard than Julian because, you know, his brain's not all the way there. He is usually a better friend than this, so I am personally disappointed in Ricky for this move. Plus, anything that upsets Bubbles is just a fucking thumbs down in my book, to be honest. He's such a sweet man. I love the fact that we have more Ricky and Lucy this season. I feel like they've been sadly lacking the last few seasons. Lucy is back with a vengeance, and she's attracted to Ricky this season, which is great. She makes excuses for all of his maybe not the best behaviour in the same way that I'm sure I would make excuses for him were he my man in an ideal world. I love the way that the pair of them are just like teenagers. I have been noticing on this rewatch of the series that not only are there parallels between Julian and Lahey and Ricky and Brandy, but the same goes for the girls. Sarah is this hustler who's never got a job the entire series, but somehow is always making money and has a place to stay. And Lucy's just kind of her dumb sidekick who's got this romance with Ricky. Sarah and Julian kind of dictate when Ricky and Lucy can be in a relationship with the other one, and it's mostly this that causes drama between the two of them, but of course neither of them notices. The characters all parallel each other really well, and Ricky and Lucy make a great pair because of that. The pair of them have got these really simple views about life, and they're happy with the simple things about their relationship. Lucy is impressed when Ricky does the bare minimum, and since that's all Ricky knows how to do, good for him, right? I just love the pair of them. Don't ask me why, I don't know. Couple goals. I like the way that they subtly foreshadow the fact that Ricky's gonna have a heart attack in the finale. He's always feeling the wrong temperature throughout the season. He sees his arm or his chest hurts. They just put these little throwaway lines in from him that make it feel like not a random dramatic thing that they've thrown in the climax, but something that the season has in fact been building up to. The notable Rickyism from this season is worst case Ontario. I personally think that's great, and I don't know why. Bubbles is still the most fastly developing character. As you'll remember, he went to jail for the first time last season, and as a result, he's a little bit more fed up this season and a little bit more wary of trying to stay out of trouble, even more so than he was originally. I've said before that I feel like he started out being glad that he was included in the boys' plans, but now that he's seen the results of that, seen the consequences that the boys have to live through, he doesn't want to be involved in that shit anymore, bro, and you can tell. The boys really are trying to make it up to him this season. Like, you can tell that they're a lot more affectionate with him, and they're doing stuff like picking up the rocket to play space. Who's Got Your Belly gets introduced in this season, which is like one of my favourite parts of the series, when the boys try and comfort each other in this stupid little way. Julian even picks him up when he hugs him at one point, trying to cheer him up. Like, the boys very much baby him, but it is not working this season. Bubbles is having none of their shit, and he does actually start to take charge a little bit this season in a way that we will see him do way later down the line when he's fully gained confidence. When he's completed his character arc, bro. It's mostly from an emotional standpoint this season, like when Bubbles gets stressed and screams, it makes the boys stop arguing, and at the end of the season when Bubbles is crying, Julian doesn't use guns in the final showdown, at least until there's no other option, because Bubbles doesn't want anyone to get killed, right? And he's so stressed out he's fucking crying. He's still very much the baby of the season, but we can see a different, harder side to Bubbles emerging as he slowly gets more and more fed up with the boys' crime committing ways. Iconic quote from Bubbles that I say all the time: does the Tin Man have a sheet metal cock? You know, as opposed to like, is the Pope Catholic or does a bear shit in the woods? And one of his best moments of the entire series, in my opinion, when he goes to steal the carts and gets caught by Gary the mall cop, and Gary's complaining about getting all the calls on his cell phone.
I'm on the phone in the foyer talking about stolen shopping carts. I'm the one who gets those calls, Bubbles, not you, me. And you know what? I don't want to get those calls anymore.
Well, why don't you fucking turn your cell phone off, Gary?
Don't fuck with me, Bubbles.
Why don't you just turn your fucking cell phone off, Gary? I really think the character that gets the most development this season, and that we're probably going to talk about for the longest, is Mr. Lahey. I think he really learned from his breakup with Randy last season and is trying to show Randy this respect that he so wants this season. He's not very receptive to Randy trying to help him quit his alcoholism, but he tries. Like, for example, he tries the hypnotism tapes that are supposed to make you not want to drink, even though he's completely dubious of them. He doesn't believe that they'll work at all. As far as the alcoholism goes, I think it's finally time that we talk about this. We're all invested enough to talk about alcoholism in the series, at least as far as Lahey goes. In this season, we can see that a relapse is coming. We can see that he's not receptive to the way that Randy is and that he's not enjoying his sobriety. When Lahey snaps at Randy that he crosses that line, it's got this serious undertone, okay? Because we're all waiting for Lahey to become the liquor again, because it's boring when Lahey's keeping the peace, okay? We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But there is still this seriousness to the series. Like, the alcoholism is treated as serious because Lahey doesn't treat Randy well when he's on the liquor, and of course he messes up, usually ends up in jail himself, or at least in a mental hospital, even if he does get the boys in jail, which is his end goal. It doesn't end well for him when he drinks, and I think that the serious undertones of the alcoholism really got lost along the way. Maybe they pulled it back, maybe they didn't. We'll discuss that when we get to it. Like I said, Lahey is faking peace this season because he is doing like undercover work, I guess you could say. The cat and mouse act between Lahey and the boys has become by this point a beloved part of the season, and it's something that the audience is really waiting for. Like I say, you really do find yourself wanting Lahey to get piss-ass drunk and cause some trouble. Plus, I think that we can finally feel that Lahey is justified because we have seen the boys fuck up his life in real time. We're not just taking his word for it at this point. Lahey's a little bit in his villain arc this season. We see that he loses his integrity a little bit. He's letting a crime happen in the park so that the boys will get arrested by themselves, but this means that he's jeopardizing the safety of all the normal people in the park for his own selfish gain. That's Lahey's villain arc, because you have to remember that in any normal show we would be on Lahey's side. We'd be like, oh, those guys, those little layabouts smoking weed all day and getting drunk and committing crimes, go get them, Lahey. But because it's this show, he's kind of the antagonist. So if we look at this from Lahey's point of view, he's tried to get them arrested by the legal means, and now he's doing it by the illegal means, and by the end of the series he realises that he's kind of being a dirty cop, even though we all know that he's not a fucking cop. Lahey, fucking stop drinking, bro. He makes up for this at the end by saving Ricky's life from the heart attack. He's the one who performs CPR on him. So we see that Lahey's put his personal differences aside for the greater good of humanity. And so that's his villain arc over. We're done with that. For now, this is also the first season where I notice that Lahey maybe fancies Julian. He starts calling him sexy and stuff like that. Maybe I missed it a little bit last season, but I don't think so. And I think it was the incident, you know, with Lahey's badge not ratting him out to the cops that time when he went absolutely crazy last season. This is, of course, the season with the iconic moment, I am the liquor.
Mr. Lee, is this you talking or the liquor? Randy. I am the liquor.
Everyone will forever worship John Dunsworth for that. Like, it's just... It's in the Bible. I don't know what to tell you. This season actually has some of the best drunk falls from Lahey. I absolutely love. He's just one of the best drunk actors of all time. I think that's something that we can all agree on.
Julian! Don't know where I felt like I get a little drink around here, do you?
I love the dramatic irony in episode 1. I love that the boys come out of jail thinking that they're filthy rich and they get a limousine and stuff like that. And we know from an audience perspective that Corey and Trevor are completely fucked up and that the boys are not going to have any money. The anticipation of knowing what's going to happen when they find out about that is really great throughout the opening half of the episode. Then you have the comedy tragedy element in the last episode when after the shootout has been avoided and Julian has sorted it peacefully because Bubbles was crying, Corey and Trevor on top of the roof hear the command wrong and shoot at Cyrus and cause the shootout anyway.
Julian, radio Corey and Trevor and tell them not to fucking shoot at anybody.
Corey and Trevor, this is Julian. As soon as you see Cyrus, take the shot.
That's it, man. He said take the shot, dude. Corey, that's not what he said. I heard it, and that's not what he said. Man, he said take the shot. I heard him say take the fucking shot. I don't care if I'm wrong. You're fucking up, and I'm not fucking this up. Someone's gonna get killed, dude. I'm taking the shot. Excuse me.
That should be a fucking blind.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? Trevor and Corey, you little fuckers. What the fuck are you guys doing? Cyrus, we had nothing to do with this, man.
It's definitely something that would happen in a Shakespeare play, except somebody would die. There's a running joke in this season that Corey and Trevor are dogs. Julian has them well trained and he just whistles and they appear and he like throws a stick and says go and wait by that, stay. We're getting to the point, I think, maybe, where Trevor is going to leave us forever and I hate that. So I thought I should mention him here while I can. It's obviously a standout season for Ray. He has a lot of iconic moments like you lied to the guy in the church.
Fuck, Ricky. No, get drunk. Rick, you lied to them. You lied to the old man. You lied to the guy in the chair, Rick. You lied to the guy in the fucking chair, man.
That's one of my personal favourites. And I love the physical comedy of him drunk and passed out when he's filming the porno with J-Rock. Ray as a concept within the show, they do kind of use him to make fun of religion a little bit, and considering they only really did that in that one episode way back, I can forgive the occasional jibe, okay? It's a show that makes fun of everything. Religion is not going to be exempt from that. And Ray sometimes has a point, you know? It is all about the bacon and the sparrows, buddy. I've got a really weird note for the last one in this season, and it's about J-Rock's porno. He's talking about, oh, we like to use real men in our pornos so that men who are watching it can feel like they're represented. And I appreciated that as a sentiment. I was like, oh, that's a really astute thing for you to say, J-Rock, well done. However, what about the women in your pornos? Can I ask about that? We're going to talk about the feminism in Trailer Park Boys? Is that something that I'm going to have to do? Don't make me do that. I should also mention more towards my Barb has been a bitch the whole time theory. She's the one who tricks Corey and Trevor by making up a fake contract into selling her back the park. So Barb is back in charge again. Status quo truly has been restored for this season. That means that we can carry on as normal. It's just like a cartoon, bro. This has been the shortest one so far. I don't really have a lot to say about this season. I feel like it really was a lot of character development. We couldn't do without it, certainly, and it's got some really great moments, but for me personally, just a fine season. See you next time.